Good evening. I'd like to call the 62nd meeting of the Jacksonville Environmental and Appearance Advisory Committee. First, we would like to review the agenda and make an adoption. So if members could view it.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda.
I second.
Everybody agree?
Yes.
Yes, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Next is the minutes consideration. The minutes of December 1st are provided. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those agree? Thank you. An Oyster Highway is a New Rivers, I'm sorry, next is Dr. Angela Washington.
Just a few comments I would just like to make. This past Tuesday, the Environmental and Parents Advisory Committee members, along with the Jacksonville Youth Council, had an opportunity to go out into the community and do a joint effort of a cleanup. And while we were out there, there was an emergency situation that occurred. So I just want to publicly thank all of the members that were able to not only come to my rescue and be my healthcare provider aides, but also to be there to comfort one of our members who sustained an injury. And one of the things that came to mind was, as a registered nurse, had I not been there on the scene, what would or would not have occurred. So I'm going to bring it to the council and mayor that not for this particular budget, because I don't think that we'll be able to entertain that, but in the future budget, particularly for our advisory committee members, because you just never know when an emergency might occur, that I think it would be a good idea if we're CPR first aid certified, because you just never know when you might need those life-saving skills to help someone in need. So I publicly thank each and every one of you that assisted me on that day. And we're just going to send blessings and well wishes out to the individual member that was injured, to let her know that we were praying for her and Godspeed for her and a quick recovery. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Wally Hansen.
Ms. Chairwoman, Board, we appreciate you being here tonight, and we did have a great cleanup, and we'll have a few pictures of that in a few moments. But we thought it would be nice to share with you a video that we have that was recently done by an outside agency regarding the cleanup efforts that the city has been involved with the New River. It talks a little bit about how the New River got in the state that it was in, largely because of the city's wastewater treatment plant, council's decision to abandon that plant and go to what we now use as our LTS, and then the additional efforts we've made in the cleanup. So the media crew is going to bring up the video in just a moment, and we'll watch that video.
The New River is very unique. It starts and ends in one county, our county, Onslow County. It's our river to protect. What most people see is the rippling of the water, or the mirroring of the sunshine. What you don't see is the life below it. I never knew when I was younger playing on the New River that I would one day be restoring it. All municipalities are permitted to treat waste from humans. The magic flush, where does it go? Well, it used to go here. You're removing the viruses and the bacteria, but you're not removing the nutrients, the ammonias, the phosphates, the nitrates. When this was a wastewater treatment facility, and it actually discharged right here out into Wilson Bay. Too many nutrients in the watershed causes an algal bloom. That in turn causes a fish kill. As the municipality grew, as Camp Lejeune, the base grew, the wastewater treatment facilities could not keep up. From the early 80s, the New River was closed to all recreational and commercial uses. In 1995, we had a hog lagoon breach. 25 million gallons of hog waste wasn't causing any fish kills. The river was so polluted, there wasn't any fish to kill. The city of Jacksonville mayor and council said, we have to do something. This is horrible. The key was shutting off the source. Then we went through the process of cleaning it up. All right, I'm gonna pull the boat forward. Oh, not deep at all. We were looking at the filtration rates of oysters. Bivalves filter out heavy metals, heavy organics, pollutants. Why not use them in mass quantities to clean up a polluted body of water? The process is called bioremediation. In the beginning, it was the Wilson Bay Initiative, shutting down the plant, putting in aeration units, bivalves, oysters. We also started restoring wetlands along the perimeter of the bay. We immediately started cleaning up Wilson Bay in '99. We reopened the river in summer of 2001. Just that simple. When you do a restoration project, it's not a one and done. The Wilson Bay Initiative consumed the first 18 years or so. You learn how to do it better and you keep going. My idea was to create an oyster highway. Many reefs all the way down the river on both sides so that the oysters find substrate to attach to and to grow. We have to saturate the system in order to filter and improve the water quality as it moves from upstream to downstream before it enters the Atlantic Ocean.
I think it's going to affect everybody that lives around here. I mean, everybody that lives in the area that loves the wildlife, loves the clean water, loves Jacksonville. I don't believe there's anybody it's not going to touch.
See, here's the substrate again, and there's some oysters. By providing habitat, we're providing a place to hide, a place to spawn, a place to feed, and it wasn't here before. In the beginning, there was a lot of doubt. We weren't even sure it was going to work, but that's what science is. You make a hypothesis, then you go through the testing to prove or disprove. I worked extra hard and collected as much data as I could. The food pyramid, the food web, it's going back to a thriving level, and it was devoid before. The Magic Flush now goes 7 miles outside of city limits to our land application plant.
Like the heavy solids and stuff like that are all separated out. Then it comes to these tanks here, these lagoons, where we use the sun rays and oxygen to kill what's left of the bacteria before it's then pushed out to like all the forests here.
Instead of polluting a watershed, we are now growing a forest. We're cutting those trees down, using them for paper and wood and other products, and then we're planting baby trees back. It's always a cycle going. If we're not working on the Oyster Highway, then we're out pulling samples. We still monitor, because things could happen. Every other week, the team goes out and collects water samples for bacteria or fecal coliforms. We sample from upstream to downstream and at the mouths of different tributaries. Removing the sources of pollution is vitally important for every marine habitat. And that's the challenge to our next generation. Our future lies with our children. That's why we built the new Environmental and Educational Center. Teaching the next generation the importance of habitat is a way to assure that the planet goes on as clean as you can, as protected as you can. Every municipality needs to think long and hard about their short-term environmental goals, but also their long-term. It's sort of like the question, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Now.
So we wanted to share that article came out recently. I think it's important to note that the city has been using oysters to help clean up Wilson Bay for the better part of 20 years now. Recently, that continued with the Oyster Highway, which extends all the way down the New River and connects Wilson Bay to Stones Bay near Sneads Ferry. And I think it's very important to note that all of the reefs, which there's 12, that have been created as part of the Oyster Highway, have been funded with grant funds. It's city labor and city workforce and largely Pat's vision that's done this, and she's gone out and sought grants, and all of that, what's been created for the Oyster Highway has been done through grants and partnerships. So it's a great effort, and it's one that we hope to continue this summer. I don't know if you noticed in the video, but we have plans to expand the sites. So we're really excited about that. So if you have any questions, there's a nice article that goes along with this that we can send out to you. I'll have Derek email that out to you, so you'll have it. And I don't know, I'm sorry, but I don't know if you've had the opportunity, as this group, we've taken our Water and Sewer Advisory Committee out there a couple of times. But if this group hasn't been to our land application site, it might be a very good trip for us, because I think it would apply to what we focus on, especially with Arbor Day coming up. Ma'am?
I was about to ask, will this video be available on the city website so our citizens can actually see it?
I'm sure we can make that available if it's not already.
Along with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
article as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's a YouTube video, and we can post a link to the article.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it's been socialized or distributed on social media,
Okay.
I think.
We'll make sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Nancy. Next, we have Arbor Day and Derek Hart.
And so first, I'd like to, as always, thank you all for coming and sharing your night with us tonight. I always appreciate it. So part of this year's every Arbor Day, and part of Arbor Day's ceremony includes the Tree City USA certification. So the city has a lot of different wickets that we have to hit to qualify to be a Tree City USA. Having a tree board is one of those requirements. And so the tree board is a subcommittee of this committee. And currently, the members that we have on the screen now, that consists of the tree board. So we have Grace, Rose, Linda, Willie, and Sunshine. A couple weeks back when we were looking at this year's Arbor Day celebration, we started brainstorming, and we had a tree board meeting here in this room on the 15th, just to kind of discuss what we were thinking about putting together this year, and to get input from the tree board for what their thoughts were moving forward to help guide staff in our coordination and planning efforts. So we organized our priorities. We discussed some different student activities for the kids to do that'll be participating in the Arbor Day, invitations, and script revisions. So we have that basic script outline, and I have a draft that I provided to each of you that came tonight. Again, it's not a final version at all, but that's just kind of where we are currently. A more updated one will be sent to you prior to Arbor Day. And right now, the ceremony is scheduled for the 27th. Now, Arbor Day officially is Friday the 28th, but because of competing priorities and scheduling with the school, we had to move that a day early. So we'll be doing it on Thursday at Northwoods Elementary School. Right now, tentatively, we're looking at utilizing a multi-purpose room there for the ceremony itself, and then moving outside for the tree planting. But we're still coordinating those last details with the faculty there. So if you look at the scripts, this is the basic breakdown. We'll have a welcome from our chair. Grace will say a few words. Mr. Hanson is going to talk about some of the city efforts as it pertains to Arbor Day and city codes. The mayor has accepted an invitation to come. I know Sunshine, you had recommended that we invite Mayor Sammy Phillips to read the proclamation, and he has accepted. We're going to have someone from the faculty talk about the student activities and kind of what the results of those were. We have a poem that we thought maybe the students could maybe have a contest to write their own poem, and maybe have one of them read that. If not, we have a poem that one of the children can read. And then we do have the Onslow County Forest Ranger will be participating. So he'll be awarding the city with the Tree City USA recognition. And he's gonna have Smokey the Bear there that day. And so Smokey the Bear will be doing some stuff with the kids prior to and after the ceremony itself. So I'm sure the kids will be pretty excited about that. Miss Rose Adams is gonna talk about the Honors and Memorials Program. And then in closing, Grace will close us out. And then we'll move outside and we're gonna plant some trees that we have. Right now our priorities is really working with the faculty and getting all those final coordinating instructions down to redistribute to everybody to make sure that we have all the final details completed. And getting that script down. Once I get that script down, I know, Grace, you'll have a speaking role, and Miss Adams will. I'll ensure that as early as I can get those to you for review. And we're working with Parks. Jason Smith, our resident horticulturist, he's already in the process of purchasing and procuring the trees, and working with the faculty for a location to plant those trees. And just like in years past, we will have support from the Parks Department in terms of digging the holes. So we're not gonna be asking children, to dig, deep holes, off the school property. So we do have that support, and continue to work with the school faculty to make sure that they have all the support that they need, and we're not surprising them with anything when the 27th counts.
Thank you. Derek, can you give us the update on the clean and green?
I certainly can. So, kind of wrapping this into a clean and green. So as many of you are aware, we did have a collaborative cleanup that we did just a few days ago over in New Market Square. So it was in that general location, and we did it in collaboration with the Neighborhood Improvement Services Advisory Committee and the Youth Council. I think collectively between our appointed officials, elected official, city staff, and everybody that participated, I think we all had about 20 folks out there. So it was a good showing. And something that we look like expanding upon in the future. So this is kind of a before picture. I plan to kind of send out an email to the committee after the meeting next week to include some more of the pictures, in addition to any updates, as well as the link to the Oyster Highway program that you all just seen a few minutes ago. But it was a good time. There was a lot of garbage that was out there, and a lot of garbage that's no longer out there.
The garbage filled up the back of all the bags put together when I loaded them, filled up the back of my truck. So we collected a lot.
Was there a lot of it in the back of that square, the buildings?
Yes, it
ma'am.
was. Yes, it was. And then a lot around, there's a stormwater BMP there.
Yes.
That we also had folks cleaning up. So there was a lot. And there's a fence there, as they discussed in the last meeting, new city code. And, that's one of the things with having a fence, it's going to catch a lot of trash, and it's exactly what it did. So that area and kind of behind that compound, there's a tree line there that extends out to the road, and there's a lot of trash there that got picked up. So the Adopt a program still chugging along as well. Combat Logistics Battalion 2 adopted Corbin Street. And since they are a military organization, it's a 2-year agreement that will expire in November of 24. I did have some interest from another military organization, and we're looking at, what's that street behind the Home Depot?
Commerce.
Commerce. We're looking at, I'm trying to push Commerce out as quickly as I can, because that adoption, the organization that had it, that agreement expired 2 months ago. So future efforts, I think looking at the future and how we can best utilize our resources, whether it be human or on the logistics side, is going to be some sort of collaboration between staff, between committees if we can, and volunteer organizations, where we can identify areas in our city that need attention, and fix those areas now, so that we can prioritize what needs the most help. And as soon as I have some volunteers, we can direct those volunteers to those areas and get the biggest impact to the community as a whole as we potentially can. So that's kind of the direction I'd like to take the Clean and Green program, if you will. Make it more collaborative, and start developing a volunteer pool. Yes.
In the future, are we gonna relocate to doing the cleanup on Henderson, or are we coming back to downtown?
I think we're gonna look at it. So we're gonna keep our eye on downtown, and if downtown needs cleaned up, we're gonna clean up downtown. If downtown is in pretty good shape, maybe we'll look at a different area. But I think there is concern to make sure that we know that the areas that we're going to go into are safe for the folks that we're going to have out there cleaning it up.
So this committee talked about adopting college, part of college and part of court.
Yeah.
And you've done that twice. Unfortunately, I was out of town both times. But from the feedback Derek and I talked about is they were in pretty good shape. So we thought for this committee, it might be better instead of having one or two specified streets, we identify the locations that need it the worst, that maybe don't have somebody, or like Commerce is in between having somebody, and we pick that up as a committee. Instead of having, this is gonna be our street, we go here every time. We may hit Henderson one time and Commerce one time, and we may identify we need to be in Bryn Mawr at some point. But that way it's we can be more flexible than an organization. So that's kind of what we're thinking, instead of just coming straight back to downtown every time, identifying where the need is and going there.
Bryn Mawr looks pretty good.
That's good.
I think sometimes like, the road that you go to Applebee's, the entrance not on, that busy road, but like on 17, how you turn into there.
That frontage
There's a
road.
lot of debris in there and stuff. But I think sometimes if you went to like that hotel, because they use that entrance too, they had like some couches in there and stuff like that, and to Applebee's. And say, hey, I'm with the Environmental Commission here, blah, blah, blah. Could you have some of your staff pick up this area here? It looks pretty bad. I believe they would do that. Have you ever thought about that? Or is that as a city function, would that?
We
you
have,
do that?
there are certain things that our code allows us to do. So some of it we can do through code enforcement.
That's what I'm saying. Because
Yeah, and some of
that's
it,
really
and I don't know, that area is troublesome. It always has been.
Yeah,
Both sides of 17 where the stoplight is, it gets in the ditch.
yeah.
And then it's difficult for people cleaning up because it is a ditch.
It's really dangerous right there too.
It is. So that's one we haven't resolved yet, but yes, in soliciting help from businesses is certainly possible. And in some cases, forcing them to help if they're responsible is possible too.
In that area, I wouldn't be able to adopt with that intersections. Both roads are DOT roads, so they would fall underneath Adopt a Highway program
Yes.
with NCDOT.
But that doesn't mean we can't help. I mean, I can put them out for adoption, but we can help.
Well, thank you, Derek. Next, we have a planning update by Mr.
You
Hanson.
just do it. Sure. So just a few planning and development things I'd like to point out for you. I figured I'd kind of hit the highlights. Slim Chickens was from January, It's a 2,400 square foot restaurant, and it does have a drive-through. And it is proposed on Western Boulevard. And then Pop Shelf, which is a retail establishment. I've never heard of one of these, but I was told it's something like a Five Below maybe. But that's over in the Yop Road area, and that's an 11,000 square foot building. And then Black Rifle Coffee Company is a coffee shop with 2,600 square feet with a drive-through, and they would be on Western Boulevard also. So, and then moving to February, we had a couple of approvals there. The largest was a site plan for a 6,000 square foot warehouse behind Furniture Fair on 17. Mr. Popkin, he's been working on, it used to be a junkyard, and then there was some stored white goods out there. He's been working to clean that area up, and he's going to build a warehouse for his furniture store on that piece of property. And then Strickland Brothers on Lejeune Boulevard is a 1,800 square foot automotive service facility. And then also, because we just talked about it, not on the screen, but the city did submit a site plan for a parking lot expansion at Sturgeon City. So we have some challenges there with parking, so we have a parking lot expansion for Sturgeon City that we've submitted. Of course, that hasn't been approved yet, but I figured I'd share that with you since we just talked about Sturgeon City. And then for March, we really haven't had any approvals yet. But most notable is the county has submitted an expansion of their emergency operations center, and that would be a 16,000 square foot expansion. The building is proposed to be behind the existing building where the parking lot is now, and then they would construct a new parking lot. So we're working with the county on that development. And then we had a 4,300 square foot dental office also submitted. So that's really the bulk of the development activity we've seen over the last 3 months. In your report, you'll see we also have some permits that we processed, but those are mostly for renovations or interior upfits or those kind of things. But those are the major developments that we have coming. And then also one of the things that I thought would be helpful to share with you is that Fire Station 4 has been approved and is under construction, and it is being constructed on New Market, is it New Market Place? Is the name of the road. It's the road that cuts through from Commons Drive, Gateway, technically, Gateway North, over to the public shopping center, New Market Square. So if you haven't been by there, you should drive by and see it. There's a lot of activity. It'll be a beautiful building that council has funded and approved when that is finished. And as part of that site, we are actually handling the stormwater on site, so we're not sending it anywhere. So we are keeping that stormwater on site and handling that stormwater on site. So with that, Ms. Grace, that's all I have.
Yeah. Anyone have discussion?
I will say that that was a great idea if they can get it approved for CPR training.
Oh, right.
It's just for, everyone can benefit from that.
Yes.
Not just the committee when we're out
Right.
there
Right.
cleaning up, but, somewhere else.
We do have an effort that we're going through right now where we are doing, basically, we are certifying city staff to teach the CPR. So we'll actually have a dedicated person in public services that can train our employees so that, because as you know, we do a lot of labor type work so that our employees are trained when they're out in the field. So there are some limitations. They can only, we have to have the mannequins, and you have to have an adult mannequin and a baby mannequin, and so we're acquiring those. But I think the instructor is a 1 to 6, so it is not a fast thing, but it is something that we are working towards. So that's an excellent idea, but I hadn't thought about extending that out. So that might be a great thing for some of our boards and committees, and being that we would have the ability in-house to do the certification, it might be even less, maybe just a few extra mannequins and those kind of things.
It might be a great idea also for our New River Summer Institute for our students.
I'll mention that to Ms. Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for that comment. Our next regular meeting will be June 1st, Thursday at 6 o'clock. And our other meetings will be August 3rd, October 5th, December 7th. If there's nothing else to discuss, is there a motion to adjourn
I make a motion to adjourn.
or a second?
Second.
Meeting's adjourned.